Hi, I'm Jessie Baldwin, and I'll be presenting my research on adverse childhood experiences and mental health, a genetically informed study. It's well established that adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, such as maltreatment and dysfunctional home environments, are associated with mental health problems. But it's unclear the extent to which these associations are fully causal or reflect genetic confounding. And this is because children with genetic liability to mental health problems may be at increased risk of ACEs due to gene environment correlations. For example, we know that ACEs are more common in families where parents have mental health problems. So children could inherit from their parents both genetic liability to mental health problems and adverse environments. The aim of this study was therefore to test whether children with genetic liability to mental health problems are at increased risk of ACEs. And secondly, to test the extent to which the associations between ACEs and mental health reflect genetic confounding. To test this, we focused on over 6,400 children from the OWLSPAC study, a birth cohort of children born in the early 90s near Bristol in the UK. To assess genetic liability to psychopathology, we derived 8 polygenic scores for psychiatric disorders. We assessed 6 ACEs, including maltreatment, domestic violence, parental psychopathology, parental substance abuse, parental criminality, and parental separation, between birth and age 9. And for mental health outcomes, we focused on internalising and externalising problems at age 10. We conducted this study as a registered report, so these analyses were all pre-registered. So moving on to the results, we first tested the association between polygenic scores for psychiatric disorders and different ACEs. On average, across all polygenic scores for psychiatric disorders and all ACEs, we found that children with increased polygenic risk for psychopathology had a small increase in odds for experiencing ACEs. We then tested whether this association differed according to the type of polygenic score and the type of ACE. And we found that children with higher polygenic risk for depression had a particularly elevated risk of ACEs relative to other polygenic scores. But we found that polygenic risk for psychopathology was similar across different ACEs, such as maltreatment, parental psychopathology, or parental separation. We next tested the extent to which associations between ACEs and mental health problems were genetically confounded, first using measured polygenic scores. So these bars show the associations between different ACEs with internalising problems at age 10. And the bright blue part shows the proportion of the association that was explained by measured polygenic scores for different psychiatric disorders. As you can see in the bright blue bars, the genetic confounding effect was very small when we assessed this through measured polygenic scores. On average, across all ACEs, the mean proportion of these associations with internalising problems explained by polygenic scores was 4%. But we know that measured polygenic scores only capture a fraction of the heritability in internalising problems. So to account for this, we applied a new genetic sensitivity analysis, which estimates latent polygenic scores that can capture SNP heritability in outcomes such as internalising problems to gain a more accurate estimate of genetic confounding. And here you can see the genetic confounding effect estimated using this genetic sensitivity analysis, and it was much greater than what we observed using measured polygenic scores. On average, across ACEs, we found that the mean proportion of these associations explained by latent polygenic scores capturing SNP heritability in internalising problems was about 64%. And we observed similar results for externalising problems, as 62% of these associations were captured by latent polygenic scores. So overall, we firstly found that children with genetic liability to psychopathology have a small increase in risk for ACEs. And secondly, we found that the association between ACEs and mental health was partly, but not completely, explained by genetic confounding. But this is only in one cohort, and our next steps are to test whether these findings replicate in the ABCD study, a cohort of children in the US. So thanks to everyone involved and thank you for listening.